What is up YouTube? It's Kingfisher745, and in this video, we are finally going to cover Tactician Hybrid. I know that many of you have been asking about this one, and so I'm very happy that today we're finally going to finish this playlist. In order to do that, we're going to first take a look at his build for this video, and then we're going to test him out in PvP. Now the most interesting thing about Hybrid, of course, is that he has so many classes, and that he has so many character-specific ISO possibilities. At the beginning of this playlist, I pointed out my overall favorites, but I do kind of want to switch things up at least a little bit from class to class. But to get started, we first have to understand what Hybrid has. So in the case of the Tactician, he's going to have hyper awareness, attacks against his character cannot be stealthy, of course symbiotic relationship, and then this class specific passive is called Survivor, guaranteed to survive being KO'd once, and restored to 30% health. So due to the fact that he can essentially come back to life, and that no attacks against him can be stealthy, we've decided to use his E-ISO that gives him Selective Protector. Protects allies from single target and area attacks, but does not protect against counter classes. That's pretty great because of the reasons I stated, but also because he won't protect against infiltrators, but he will protect against a blaster, and that means he'll typically gain an extra turn. Now that we've seen his E-ISO and his passives, let's take a look at his basic ISO 8 build. So for this guy I'm using 4 times Forceful, that's attack, accuracy, and defense, and 4 times Stalwart, health, attack, and defense. It's a pretty hardy build for a protector, but it's also a solid build for just about anyone in PvP. Then our E-ISO's official name is the Red Knight Empowered ISO 8, and it does grant us Selective Protector. Then lastly, moving on to our A-ISO, we're trying to mix it up a bit, and also these go perfectly with our team up. If I had one possible change though, it would be on our level 1. But for this one we're using the Agonizing A-ISO. It's going to give him Malicious Intent. Applies pain, increasing damage taken by 8%, and this is able to stack 3 times. Next for his level 2, this one definitely goes along with his team up. So maybe after this one you could even take a guess at who we're going to use. But for that level 2 it's the Pin Down A-ISO. This will apply Pin Cushion, taking extra damage from counter and follow-up attacks. Then on his level 6, one of my favorite of his custom A-ISO, the Debilitating Augmented ISO 8. This grants him Sapping Infestation. Phage applies to power, so actions no longer apply statuses. The power is incredibly useful, especially in PvP. You could even hit someone like the Horseman of Pestilence with this debuff. Very powerful and incredibly useful. Just imagine hitting the enemy agent and shutting down anything like the weather control device to the synthetic cube. Now who doesn't want that? Then for his level 9 we're using the Shifting A-ISO. This is going to go with Pin Cushion, and it's always a great idea to apply Flanked, especially when you can do it to the entire enemy team. So that's exactly what this does. It makes his AoE attack apply Flanked. Then single target attacks against the target grant a follow-up attack. Oh, and there's going to be more where that came from, so let's go ahead and check out our team build. Alright, so for our team setup, we're using Hawkeye. We are taking him in as a blaster so we can deal with those bruisers. And he of course has Knocked and Loaded. He's going to gain a preemptive attack against targets with Pinpoint Target. Then also of course his Rapid Fire passive is going to allow him to continually attack 50% of the time on anyone who has that debuff. Next, on my agent we're using the Safeguard Tactician suit. That gives us Unrelenting, but it also allows us to use a debuff as a quick action. So we have the Grimoire of the Legion. It's going to be another source of an AoE Flanked. So we are definitely going to put that debuff on the enemy team, and we're going to keep it on them. That Pin Cushion is probably making a lot of sense right now. Then next we have the Cube, followed by the Gilded Semi-Auto Gun. This is a single target attack, so it's going to benefit from Flanked, but also it causes lock-on, and most importantly, Pinpoint Target. Pinpoint Target is exactly what Hawkeye needs. So this weapon will help him get those follow-up attacks, and it will help him with his preemptive counters as well. Then finally, just as another support item, we're using the weather control device. So heading into our match, we're feeling pretty confident, and the enemy team does have a bruiser safeguard agent. That's why we brought the blaster. However, they have not one but two tacticians. Thankfully, Hybrid has selective protector, so he's going to play a crucial role in keeping those attacks off of Hawkeye. Remember, attacks against him cannot even be stealthy, so the only thing we have to worry about is cornered. Oh, and by the way, you can also see their agent has the GG prototype. Luckily, we got to start with our agent, so we went ahead and used the Fire Tornado. Next, let's get that early team flanked by using the Grimoire of the Legion. And finally, we're going to use the Gilded Semi-Auto Gun to place pinpoint target. I really wish we could attack Gamora because she is up next, but of course their suit gives them a protect. Then because of flanked, we're also going to get a Brawl follow-up. So far not a terrible first turn, but they do have quite a bit of HP. On Gamora's turn, she probably went after Hawkeye, but luckily Hybrid does protect. Then with Clint, we're going to go ahead and spread out that pinpoint target by putting it on the Horseman of Pestilence. After that, we don't have too much of a choice, but we are going to use the Trick Arrow to try to stun the enemy agent. We also have a pretty good chance of getting follow-up attacks here. Speaking of which, we first get a Freezing Arrow and it crits, because that's what Hawkeye does. His Master Marksman passive says, attacks almost never miss, and attacks against marked targets are guaranteed to crit. Then just look at him go, rapid fire arrows. Because of that flurry, their agent is basically a dead man. So with Hybrid, we'll go ahead and attack the enemy Pestilence Beast. I will be honest with you though, we should have used our level 2 or even better our level 6. But I'm just going to go ahead and hit him with our level 1. Then right after this attack, their agent will be killed by dots. I mean, you really can't ask for a better beginning than that. And Hawkeye's going to be coming around again, so the AI is probably shaking in their boots. I'll tell you what, even if Hybrid doesn't do a crazy amount of damage in this one, even though we know he's capable, just the fact that he can protect, even against stealthy attacks, really helps out Hawkeye and keeps the heat off our blaster. Also, yes, I do know that the weather control device was exhausting our enemies, and so they couldn't gain extra turns anyways. But even if we face a safeguard tactician agent who would be immune to exhausted, Hybrid would step up and save our Hawkeye. So I think that's a pretty valuable thing to have. Then of course that E-ISO is interchangeable between any of his classes, so it sets up a number of different team-ups or options. So yeah, even if you don't see me using Hybrid all the time, he still is one of my favorite characters, mainly because of his options. And by the way, he also provides a very nice PvE bonus when you use him with Anti-Venom. So that's a great team up to use when trying to get a high score. While I was saying all of that, we did finally get to see a Knocked and Loaded proc. And now with Hawkeye, we're going to go ahead and fire a volley. This is great to use when you have multiple enemies with pinpoint target, because believe it or not, he can actually get follow-up attacks on both, or all three if the entire enemy team is still alive. So after going off on the enemy beast, he now turns his attention to Gamora. First he hits her with a Magnavolt arrow, then an incendiary arrow. Finally, an electrical arrow will take her down. But now those arrows are going to trigger various effects on Beast, and by the end of it, he's dead too. So there you have it, a pretty cool setup and potentially great team, especially when Hawkeye is on point. So go ahead and give it a try. As for this video and the playlist, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm happy to say that we finally finished. With that, I want to thank you all for watching and ask you to please like, comment, and subscribe. Then until next time, good luck and take care.